When people around the country think about Oklahoma, cutting edge technology, including artificial intelligence, usually isn't the first thing that pops into their heads. But Tyrance Billingsley II is one of the people who might change that. He's the founder and CEO of Black Tech Street, an organization that's goal is to empower the next generation of builders, founders, researchers, and of visionaries, and to facilitate a rebirth of Black Wall Street, all using technology to do it. Recently, his team announced a partnership with NVIDIA, one of the biggest names in artificial intelligence. And Black Tech Street already had a partnership with Windows. In our conversation in this week's episode of One More Thing, Tyrance shares his vision for turning Greenwood into a global hub for innovation, and he opens up about his personal journey that led him to this work. This is One More Thing with Nathan Thompson. Tyrance, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you coming on One More Thing.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Now, the first thing I think we should get into is Black Tech Street. A lot of people maybe don't know what it is. Can you just tell us what it is?
Absolutely. So a lot of people will probably be familiar with historic Black Wall Street, the once great community that was here, greatest community of Black entrepreneurs in the history of the country, was destroyed in the 1921 race massacre. And even though it rebuilt, that kind of defined the narrative ever since. So 100 years later, I'm a born and raised Tulsa, and I began to ask myself the question, what could Black Wall Street have been had it been supported and not destroyed? And when I thought about the level of tenacity that it took for these entrepreneurs to really build this incredible achievement during Jim Crow, the smashing through walls and that out-of-the-box thinking, it really showed a lot of parallels with the tech industry. So that kind of led me to this three-pronged epiphany. You know, one, tech is one of the only industries you can really build intergenerational wealth in 7 to 10 years via successful company exit because of the company multiple factor. And then two, tech is the core medium through which all global innovation takes place consistently. And three, at the time, it's changed since then, but the stats said there will be 4.3 million high-paying tech jobs, vacant tech jobs due to a tech talent shortage. So when we put all three of those things together, I not only really saw this incredible wealth building opportunity, I saw the Black Wall Street vision pushed to this new horizon. So that really led me to surmise that Black Wall Street been supported and not destroyed, it would be nothing other than the nation's premier Black innovation economy, really premier innovation economy, period.
So when you say 4.3 million jobs, this was 5 years ago whenever you were coming up with this plan, right? Mm-hmm. Do you know what the numbers are now?
Yeah, it's shifted now, and we're still looking through that. You know, AI is changing a lot, but yeah, so we're eager to get some new stats on that, but we know that that's a different number now.
And how important was it? I mean, you came up with the idea, as you talked about, that you wanted to start this company, but priority number one, was it a deal breaker? This had to be in the Greenwood district?
Well, yeah, it had to be in the Greenwood district. I mean, it didn't have to exclusively focus on Black people, but it was inspired by Greenwood and, you know, by Black Wall Street. And I think that story had a lot to say, to really show America. You know, that's something that I often try to tell people. Greenwood is not just an example of Black excellence, and it's an example of the American spirit, the entrepreneurial spirit that built this country to begin with. And I think our entire country can take its cues from it.
And when you envision the future of Black Tech Street, what's it look like in 5 or 10 years?
I think it looks like you've got some of the biggest players in tech focused here. You've got some of the most incredible entrepreneurship ventures coming out of this community. You have a community where AI is a baseline for a lot of what everybody does. I really see it being a model for the entire country in terms of this is how you integrate technology, this is how you use it to create wealth and improve quality of life, and this is how you build a culture of collaboration around it. That's what I want, and that's what I see.
You know, we've been talking for a couple minutes, mentioned AI a couple of times already, because 5 years ago when you were coming up with this, AI was probably not in your things you were thinking about, but now it is. And now you guys just recently announced this huge partnership with NVIDIA, one of the big people involved with making AI go and being a motor for it. That's got to be pretty amazing for you and your organization.
Yeah, it is amazing. NVIDIA they're actually the most valuable company in recent history. They were the first company to hit a $4 trillion market cap. Their CEO, Jensen Huang, was recently named the most powerful businessman and the business person in the world by Fortune. And yeah, so having that company here helping us fuel our vision, there are a few things that could be better. Them in combination with Microsoft.
And With how much AI has exploded in recent years, how much has that changed your vision for Black Tech Street?
Well, I mean, it's really just provided more of a specific lane and an acceleration for it. Artificial intelligence is really ushering in a new age of entrepreneurship when you have things like vibe coding and the ability to, there were things that you previously needed a technical founder for that you can now do as a non-technical person, not entirely, but in a big way. So, I mean, it's accelerated entrepreneurship. I did have an eye towards AI when I thought about this, but no, it wasn't quite as front and center as it is now.
Now, when you said, the numbers are changing with the 4.3 million jobs, AI has a lot to do with that. Do you think that AI is going to decrease that number because there's so many jobs? Even you had Mark Zuckerberg recently talk about how he wanted half of his coding to be done by AI coming up. Is that something that worries you, or do you think that's an opportunity?
I think it's an opportunity. I think part of the reason is AI is projected to cut out a lot of jobs. It's also projected to create more. What those jobs look like, what roles they end up playing in companies, what company structures look like, what the nature of labor is in and of itself is all going to be redefined. And I think, if nothing else, what having companies like NVIDIA and visions like Black Tech Street in a community does is it allows us to proactively shape and design what that's going to look like, and we can actively funnel people into those opportunities. So I think let's not joke around. Sure, it presents some forms of like, okay, what's going to happen here? But as Peter Baelish said in one of my favorite shows, Game of Thrones, chaos is a ladder.
There you go. Gotta always like a Game of Thrones reference.
Always Game of Thrones. Always Game of Thrones.
Can you tell us a little bit about, obviously, whenever you have a name like NVIDIA with your organization, that's a big deal just by the name alone. But what does this partnership mean as far as education for people around here in AI, jobs created, maybe economic impact, that kind of thing?
Absolutely. So our MOU with NVIDIA, first and foremost, the door is left wide open for it to evolve to become whatever it may need to be as the relationship progresses. But there are a couple of really specific gives and gets. First thing, we want to train 10,000 learners in artificial intelligence. And we're being flexible with how we want to do that through our partners at the universities and local organizations. But education is the baseline. So getting people fluent in artificial intelligence or in AI tools specifically, and how they can use it to navigate their lives and improve their work, that's number one. So we'll be working with NVIDIA to get some of their programming and resources to enhance efforts here to help that come to fruition. Two, NVIDIA is going to partner with us on pulling down federal and state money. So I mentioned Microsoft. Microsoft played a major role, and our partnership with them played a major role in us getting the big tech hubs win that ended up pulling down $51 million. Now we've got NVIDIA at the table saying we want to help you do more of the same thing. So that's going to be a big deal. The third lane is really in entrepreneurship. NVIDIA has an Inception program, and they have lots of other programs that are specific to helping entrepreneurs thrive. We're going to partner with people like Gradient and Urban Coders Guild and Build in Tulsa to get local entrepreneurs access to those programs and those benefits. And then finally, it's hardware. In the age of artificial intelligence, compute is everything. So NVIDIA is part of the MOU is they're going to work with us to get access to their, H100s and other mechanisms that you need to actually train AI so that we can work on AI projects with the ecosystem and like startups.
Just to clarify, for some people who might not know MOU, Memo of Understanding, correct? And that's kind of the game plan for this partnership going forward. This is still Black Tech Street, still pretty young as a company. Much. When you started it, did you think you were going to have this kind of impact this quickly?
That was the goal. Did I know it would be that quickly? No. But yeah, that's always been the goal. We wanted the biggest names in tech coalescing around Greenwood, showing this entire country what's possible when you have a community that works together and is united behind a vision. And that's what we've come to see.
Obviously, front and center for you is building the Greenwood district, but this is such a big deal, especially the NVIDIA deal. This is something that's going to affect the greater Tulsa area, Green Country in general?
Absolutely. So, and that's important to note. A part of the MOU is that it will eventually come to be an MOU for the entire state of Oklahoma. NVIDIA has done a couple of other deals. Like we're the first city specifically they've done this with, but they've got an agreement with the state of California, and they recently did one with the state of Mississippi. Ours is going to anchor Tulsa via Greenwood first, but eventually it's going to spread to the state of Oklahoma as well.
Black Tech Street, it's a big deal. It's very interesting. Also, I think would be interesting to our viewers and listeners here is just your personal story. I mean, you're born and raised in Tulsa. went to Booker T.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, how did your upbringing here in Tulsa and your early influences around the area kind of lead you to your destination where you are now?
Yeah, born and raised Tulsan. Was born in North Tulsa. I went to go all the way through our ECDC bunch. Then I went to Salk Elementary. Then I went to Carver Middle School. Then Booker T. Graduated from there and went to Tulsa Community College, and then OSU Tulsa. So again, very much Tulsa centric. But I've always had this passion for both entrepreneurship and kind of politics and society in the other hand. So I kind of juggled these two. And technology was something that married those two. So, I ended up initially, I got an internship under Mayor Bynum. I chaired the advisory board for the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education, helping them advise them on what policy should be made for students. And then I ended up building a startup called City Fora, which was meant to be a one-stop shop for administering city services. I was 19 or 20 when I founded the company and ended up failing, but it got me an entrepreneurial fellowship with the George Kaiser Family Foundation, and gave me some insights on what makes startups scale and fail, things like that. And from there, I went through City Year, and it took a long journey to get to where I am, but all of them gave me a different piece of what I needed to get there.
And hearing you talk about all this, it seems like you view technology as a path to improvement for people, for all kinds of people. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. Technology, I say, it's a universally applicable accessory that can enhance any discipline or person.
So do you remember a moment in your life where you came to that conclusion and you thought, this is what I want to get involved with because of that?
Yeah, well, I've always been into comic books and whatnot. Reed Richards was one of my inspirations when I was young. And my father always used to give me Forbes magazines, and I always used to read about Bill Gates when I was young. And I'd say this is where it's at. So yeah, all credit goes to that stuff.
Why do you think you chose this mission above other career paths?
Well, because I feel like this one legacy. And I don't mean legacy just in terms of the name being remembered. I mean legacy in terms of having an impact that affects people for generations to come. Greenwood was an apparatus by which wealth could be built and community could be felt beyond just the people who founded it. And I wanted something similar for this community.
Is one of your goals maybe to have equity in tech?
How do you mean?
Just for all people, and to build that, it's a pathway going forward for it to be more equitable.
Well, I would think that, I think everybody should have access to technology in general, So yeah, having those pathways, that's something that we all want. I don't think anybody should be barred from entering the tech industry either because they don't think they have the right story or because they don't think they're smart enough. So yeah, we want to open up pathways for everyone.
And what do you see as Tulsa's role in the national conversation for technology, and how much do you want to make sure that it's that name Tulsa is said more and more as we go forward?
Yeah, I think that Tulsa can be a leader in terms of how is AI adopted, how is AI applied, how is technology built in a way that is intentional and that helps everyone build wealth and that it has everyone in mind. Absolutely.
People nationally, I think people here in Green Country and Tulsa especially, they know of the Greenwood district and what it is now. Nationally, I think a lot of people probably think of the 1921 Tulsa race massacre. Mm-hmm. Do you think, how does your mission and other people like you mission can change the narrative about Greenwood district, or do you want to change the narrative?
I think that, I want the narrative to be that in the 21st century, Greenwood is once again the example. I don't want it to just be a relic of a bygone era. I want it to be a living entity that is giving an example and blazing the trail for everyone.
Are you well on your way, you think?
I think we're well on our way. We've got a lot of work to do to really get the goal the way we want. We've still got to get lots more compute power in terms of, in the age of AI, compute is power. So we want to coalesce compute. We need to get more thought leadership so people can understand our approach to designing an AI economy that works for everyone and that helps America lead in the AI revolution, which I think is the most important thing. If we as a nation lose the AI race, the future of human civilization is on a different course. And I want Tulsa via Greenwood to play its part in America being victorious.
Now you're leading me to plug a past episode I had with Brad Carson, the former congressman
yes.
and the former president of the University of Tulsa, who resigned from there to go work on helping kind of shape the regulation around AI in a responsible way. And in that podcast, you guys take a listen. He was obviously talked about the dangers of AI, but he was overall optimistic about it being an instrument of good overall. What's your view on it?
Yeah, I think that's the direction I would lean, but it takes a lot of intentionality. Human nature, when humans get access to tools, we're not always the smartest and we're not always the kindest with it. And now we're talking about a tool that could potentially someday become even more intelligent than we are. What do we do with that? I say it's never been more important that humans be aligned with the right values. And I believe the United States of America, for any failings that we might have, at least in terms of what we've always aspired to be, is the kind of vision that should shape AI. And that's what we want to make happen.
Obviously, you want Black Tech Street to be one of a company that's very involved in AI going forward for jobs and for wealth creation. Is it important to you to kind of be involved in that conversation of how you steer AI?
Super. That is one of our main goals. We have to be involved in that conversation. We want to help lead that conversation. And that's part of what we want to do in this work here. We want Greenwood and Tulsa to kind of be a microcosm of what the country should look like in terms of how we adopt AI, how we apply it, how it's used to help people. That's absolutely what we want. So I would say that's one of the 2 or 3 main things that we're aiming at.
Now, people who are watching and listening this podcast right now who find this interesting and they say, hey, I want to get involved in Black Tech Street as far as getting trained and maybe getting a job and maybe through the NVIDIA partnership, what's kind of the pathway for them to get with your organization to make that happen? So
there'll be a few. The main one is through Aspire, our program, our AI and autonomous systems program for innovation, research, and education. We actually have trainings to where people can come in and we have a curriculum that we've pioneered that takes people from foundations of responsible AI all the way to building agents. And it was a 2-day deal. Now it's a 1-day deal that we go through the modules and then you actually end building something with the knowledge. You can sign up for those through our website, www.blacktechstreet.com. And we actually have our next event on September 27th. Our previous one was in June. We had 125 people come out. We had a lot of people say that it was life-changing, and we want to keep that going.
And we talk about thousands and thousands of jobs hopefully created through this. How does that work? I guess walk me through it. Is that something where you guys are almost like a school that trains these people and they go out and find their own jobs, or do you help them find jobs, or how does it work?
So the way we intend for it to do is we want to first and foremost train them and make sure they're ready. And then we want through other partner initiatives for them to be able to find jobs, or potentially through other money that we pull down federally in partnership to end up creating jobs and attracting companies that can employ people.
What's the time frame on the NVIDIA partnership? Like, is it going right now? How long is it going to last?
So, I mean, we're currently working out building mechanisms to make all this happen. It's indefinite. There's no time stamp on it, no time frame on any of it. We're in it for the long haul.
When you look back, you talked about wanting to leave a legacy. When you look back, when you're years older, you're still a young man. Is this something that you want to be kind of like the main thing that you're remembered for? One of them.
I think it still has yet to get quite to the level that we wanted. As big as this is, it can get much, much bigger. And that's what we're aiming for. We have a community to change and an entire country to inspire. So we've still got a long way to go, but we're getting started.
So when you retire and you look back at your accomplishments, what would it take for you to feel like you're satisfied with you made the mark you wanted to make?
It's a great question. Greenwood being the beacon I always wanted it to be, people growing up in this community with wealth, with an understanding and a predisposition towards technology that gives them a leg up in the world, and the United States, in terms of history, marking 21st century Greenwood as a significant shining city on a hill, if you will, in terms of example of what communities helped lead us through the AI revolution. I think that's what I want.
And then is there one thing maybe you want people who maybe aren't familiar with Black Tech Street, or maybe not real familiar with Greenwood District around here in Green Country, that you want them to know and be aware of?
I want them to be aware, again, it's not just, the history is sacred. The history is sacred, but the future is even brighter than the past was. and there's a chance for collaboration. You know, what happened in Greenwood was a horrible tragedy. It's one of the great wrongs that has ever been perpetrated in this nation. But I think this nation now is in a place to where the example that we can set for it can end up having us can end up righting that wrong in more ways than one. And part of the way it does that is by securing the kind of future to the descendants and to the legacy of Greenwood that it always needed to have. And I think we do that through innovation, through entrepreneurship, through technology.
And people, you and people on your team, now that you have this NVIDIA, I imagine the morale there has got to be great, and the motivation to keep building has got to be strong because of that.
The morale is great, yeah. With us, with our partners, so Seed AI, Tulsa Innovation Labs, Microsoft, Terrence Crutcher Foundation, Urban Coders Guild, all the people who work with us in some capacity are all really excited.
Very interesting stuff. I never like to prepare people for this, but the podcast is called One More Thing. So at the end, I like to ask my guests, what's one thing on your mind a lot lately you've been thinking about a lot? It doesn't have to be about this topic. It's more than welcome to talk more about it. It can be, entertainment, sports, literature, whatever you want. What's been on your mind a lot lately?
Well, I'll keep it light. What does the future of human civilization look like? And what role are we uniquely positioned to play in that? That's something that's been on my mind.
And by we, you mean black
By we, I mean all of us.
Just people in
all
general.
Of us.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then, but you're kind of uniquely positioned to maybe have a say with your partnership with NVIDIA and stuff, and helping lead AI in a responsible direction, or you hope, right?
Absolutely.
Are you optimistic about that?
I'm very optimistic. I'm the guy that's going to be optimistic even when it looks like we shouldn't be, because I believe our minds and our persistence can actually affect outcomes. So,
all right, interesting stuff. Love talking to you. Appreciate you stopping by.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks again to Tyrance Billingsley II. Interesting conversation on technology and what it can mean for any community, especially the Greenwood district, a place that has this enormous history of success before tragedy happened more than a century ago with the Tulsa race massacre. Black Tech Street has high ambitions, and it's impressive what they've already accomplished with these partnerships with two of the biggest companies in the world, NVIDIA and Microsoft. It'll be interesting to see what comes next for Black Tech Street and how that could affect the Greenwood district, Tulsa, and the state of Oklahoma. Hope you have a great week.